What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Great news in the sport of boxing. John Molina Jr. just released his tweet. Here's what he had to say. There's been rumors that I would like to fight Figueroa. Let me correct that. I would love to fight Figueroa. Let's make it happen. I think this is a great idea. Omar Figueroa was recently linked to Juan Diaz. They were trying to make that fight, both fighters from Texas. I think that is a good fight, although I think the John Molina fight, especially dealing with timing, makes more sense. John Molina, Omar Figueroa, both known punchers in their weight division, and they're both off impressive wins. Two different types of wins, but both impressive. John Molina Jr., he just fought Mickey Bay, an undefeated prospect with the Mayweather camp, and he was getting outboxed, outworked. He didn't look great, and out of nowhere in the 12th round, maybe Mickey Bay got overconfident, got a little careless, sloppy, and John Molina pounced on him and did what he had to do to end the fight via TKO. And Mickey Bay was badly, badly hurt, and it was his Rocky moment. And that's the thing with sport of boxing. That's why we watch it. It's a roller coaster event. You never really know what's going to happen. That's why they say protect yourself at all times, and don't clown around, don't showboat, because you got a fighter who's desperate, who doesn't want to take a loss, and there's no time to joke around, so to speak. So John Molina, again, he did what he had to do. He put the first blemish on Mickey Bay's career record, and it was a great win for him. It was a shocking win. Everything pointed to him losing that fight, and he did what he had to do in the 12th round to win. So got to give him props for that. As far as Omar Figueroa, I mean, this dude fought a fighter who was relatively unheard of, Arakawa, and this guy gave him the fight of his life. And I just find it funny that you got guys like Arakawa from Japan, who's from Tokyo, and you don't really hear about guys like this. Yet Zhao Shiming, because he won a gold medal, and he hasn't really done much or proven much other than the Olympic medal. And I'm not saying that's not a great feat, but however, the pro game is different from amateurs. I think everyone knows that. Tim Tebow did great things in college, but look at him in the NFL. Not so great. He hasn't really done much. With the Broncos, he did whatever. But Zhao Shiming is being celebrated, and then you got true warriors like Arakawa, who is outmatched in the power department, yet he's still trying and he's still making it a tough fight. So I just assume celebrate the fighter with actual skill or just the heart the size of Kansas, and that's just my opinion. A great test for Omar Figueroa in the sense of Arakawa couldn't really match in power. That was evident throughout the fight. But this dude had a chin and a will to win. I mean, this guy was throwing punches and bunches, a high volume of punches. And for a fighter, that has to be super discouraging, especially a power puncher slash brawler like Omar Figueroa, because he's landing his best shots, great shots, and they're landing. And he can't seem to put his opponent down or out. So that has to be discouraging. Not to mention you have to be in great shape to be able to keep throwing punches. So I think this was an awesome test for Omar Figueroa, a fighter who is a tough customer and wasn't going to go and bow down and go out easily. There were actually points where, as I mentioned, the power differential was apparent in pretty much every round. Omar Figueroa clearly landed the harder shots. However, it got to a point in certain spots where Arakawa was landing good shots, and I wondered if Figueroa would just be fatigued from exerting so much energy that he would potentially get knocked down or even knocked out based on the amount of punches that his opponent was throwing and the volume of punches. Not that they were the hardest punches ever, but he was having to work really hard in order to try to get this guy out of here. And it went the distance. He still wasn't able to knock him out. Arakawa was a true warrior. His face was busted up. So props to both fighters. I just watched that fight the other day. I kind of watched it out of order because I was working, and I wanted to watch the Andre Berto Soto Caras and the fight with Keith Thurman first. But I'm definitely glad I watched it last night and caught up. Great fight. I'll definitely watch it again. It wasn't a technical affair, but it was just an overall backyard type scrap. And boxing needs both types. Stylistic fighters like Rigondeaux, but also just the sit back, eat popcorn, and watch each other slug their heads off. and that's what the Arakawa Figueroa fight was. I also thought it was a fight where it's a valuable learning experience for Figueroa for many reasons. Again, being a power puncher and landing your best shots and not being able to get your guy out of there. That shows you a lot. You have to stay positive, stay confident, even though you can't seem to get this guy out of there when you're used to being able to knock everybody out that you faced thus far. So going the distance is definitely a learning experience for fighters like that. I think Figueroa hadn't really seen the 10th round or past the 10th round in his previous fights. He's been able to end them earlier and make it an easy night. So the fact that Arakawa caused him to dig down deep was a great experience and learning experience for him. Also, Figueroa had to battle adversity in the sense he got a headbutt, which left a nasty cut on the bridge of his nose, so he was leaking. Trying to stay focused when you're cut, when you haven't really been cut, can be a problem. We also seen that in Manny Pacquiao versus Eric Morales Part 1. Pacquiao looked like he's so used to overwhelming people at that point, and he wasn't used to being cut, that he looked out of his game after he received the cut. It looked like he didn't know how to adjust. It was really bothering him. So Omar Figueroa, he kept doing what he had to do. And he also hurt his hands in the fight. So as far as John Molina and Omar Figueroa, especially based on the timing, I think this is a fight that needs to happen. Both known punchers, both fighters off of incredible performances, fan-friendly performances, devastating performances, fights you would want to watch again. And if you put them against each other, I just think it's great for the sport of boxing, and we'll see who wins. Let me know what you guys think. John Molina versus Omar Figueroa. Hopefully this fight can be made. Again, I think it's a tough test. Omar Figueroa being a young fighter who just went the distance, hurt his hands. You also have John Molina, who's battled his ups and downs in his career, losing in a first round fashion to Antonio DeMarco, and trying to pave his way back. And he almost lost against Mickey Bay, but he was able to pull through, weather the early storm, even late storm, to come back and beat Bay by a TKO. So I think it's a hell of a time for these guys to get in there and fight. We want to see Omar Figueroa in more fights, and I definitely want to see John Molina in more fights based on his performance and just showing that overall durability, that he can rally late and do what he has to do. So I think make the match. I'm all for it, on board with this fight. Let me know what you guys think of this matchup. John Molina Jr. versus Omar Figueroa. Should this happen? Who wins if it does happen? As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next videos, Ego, signing off.